Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
And on we roll from Aston Villa up the M6 towards Manchester. James, I know a lot of people are not interested in City assets because of the horrendous start to the season, very difficult opening game. But they'll want them from Gameweek 2. So who have we got on?
With champions in the house, although he's not correspondent champion. I don't know if he's a bit vexed about that. He's been coming back for his title next season, I don't doubt. Jonny Pringle, our Man City correspondent, is in. How are you, John?
Good, thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on again.
Before we talk assets, I've got to ask, mate. Game week 38, I know you're in the ground. 15 minutes to go. What are you thinking, mate?
I was in a bad way.
Must have been mortifying, mate.
I just sort of thought, oh my God, like it's actually happened. Coutinho scored against us. And I'd sort of, because that had happened, I sort of just accepted it was fate that they were going to win it and that they were going to do the quadruple. And I'd sort of just made my peace in it in that little 5-minute stint. And then it just happened so quickly, didn't it? That when the first goal went in, I was a bit like, okay. But the second goal going in so quickly, everyone knew we were just going to do it then.
Yeah.
You went from, like I say, just accepting our fate to then, thinking we were going to do it. You knew we were going to score again. You look at the clock and you think, right, 13 minutes left now just to score one. And then because we scored again so early, you're almost looking at it again thinking, oh my God, we've got to hang on for 10 minutes now. Could we have just waited a few more minutes?
Well, yeah, you could have done with that, like the QPR, couldn't you? Kick it in the corner and just let Joe Hart have it and stuff 10 years ago. Did that psychologically play a factor in your mind? Knowing like when it went 2-2 and you think, hang on, we've done this from 2-1 at 91.5 minutes. We can definitely score in 10 minutes here or so.
Yeah, well, I think it was the fact we were 2-0 down. We needed 3 goals. I know at the time Liverpool weren't winning yet, but no one was under any illusions that Liverpool were going to score. We knew we needed to score 3 goals. It was the fact that we needed to score 3, and again we just didn't look like scoring though, did we? That was the thing. It was similar to QPR game. It wasn't like we're absolutely battering them. We just plucked that out of our arse from nowhere.
When you went 2 down, I switched off West Ham and moved to Liverpool because I thought, okay, Liverpool now are going to go for it. Like they've got 30 minutes, 35 minutes. I want to see Liverpool throw everything at it, knowing that they've got a chance of winning the league.
Yeah.
And it lasted about 5 or 10 minutes, and that was it. And I was like, okay, goal flash City. I was like, oh, this was worth it. Liverpool didn't really get the opportunity to. And to be honest, they were throwing a lot at it, but they didn't. Like you say, you didn't know if you were going to score. They didn't look like they were going to particularly score either. And in the end, like, after the couple of goals go in, you're thinking, now, why did we ever doubt them? The number of times I've seen you in kind of drawing games 0-0 or 1-1, but just that patience of just play our way, and eventually it will come, and it always seems to.
Yeah, I think hopefully we're making it a bit of a habit now. I mean, the last 4 times, but the 4 times we've won the title on the final day in the Premier League era, we've gone behind in 3 of them. And
Brighton's the other one people might be forgetting.
Yeah, the Brighton game. So like I say, we're making a bit of a habit of it now. So hopefully we're developing this bit of a reputation that say United and Liverpool have, where talk about the Stretford end and the Kop sucking it in. Hopefully that teams will just come to City and know that inevitably we're going to come from behind.
I mean, even the week before when we were 2 up at half time, I thought you were going to score in the second half, at least 1. It was just a case of whether or not it was 2 or 3, really. I just feel that inevitability of, why can't it, like you're saying, why can't it be a bit later in the game? I'd rather we went 2-0 up in the second half than the first half because of that inevitability.
Yeah.
Yeah, the West Ham game was a cushion. It's just interesting reflecting my own memories of 2012 and obviously the summer's just got. I was obviously at Spurs games both times. And 2012, people check the scores and stuff wasn't what it is now and stuff. So I literally didn't know. Our final whistle went and someone in front of us said, City are losing in 2012. Our final whistle had gone.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're joking. And then 5 minutes later, someone, they did win it. And it was like, you could hear it murmuring around the ground, oh my God, they've done it. At Norwich, it was the people talking to each other in front of City are 2-0 down. What? And it was like, can't be, just literally couldn't be. Because you just assume everybody did going into it a win comfortable. There was the whole kind of Gerrard narrative and stuff. But yeah, so what? They put you through it sometimes, don't they? But it's the beauty of being a football fan, because the irony is I'm sure you end up enjoying yourself more that day than if you'd have just won 2-0 like you did the year against West Ham, and it's just routine. To actually have it taken from you and then have the elation. As you said, you come to peace, it was gone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I even said this before the game. I said, obviously, everyone just wants a routine win. But when it was 1-0 down at half time, I was sort of thinking in the back of my head, I was like, well, if we win it from here, and especially when we were 2-0 down, thinking, if we win it from here, and then, yeah, like you say, you saw the scenes after. No one would have been on the pitch if we'd have just beat them 2-0. It was just a sort of elation of having it taken away from you and then bringing it back. You realise how much it means when you're actually 2-0 down with 15 minutes to go. And you realise how much you want it then.
Yeah, I mean, the QPR will never be repeated. That's probably as close as you're going to get, mate. I should imagine. Well, congratulations anyway, mate. You need to buy a world-class striker, though, don't you?
Yeah, well, we talked about him and we've got him. Exciting.
I've had the armband on him since the game opened, if I'm honest with you.
Confident.
So tell me I'm an idiot, or tell me that you're in the same boat as me, one or the other.
You're not an idiot, Suj. I don't have the armband on him, but I've got him in. I've got to have him in now, haven't I? I can't not pick him, and then him score on the first day of the season, and me thinking, oh my God, why didn't I pick him? But yeah, it's just all the stats just point towards him being a success. 86 goals in 88 games at Dortmund, nearly a 1 goal a game striker. Scored 12 minutes into his debut. It was a friendly. The heaps of chances we create. People talk about whether he's going to fit in, whether he's going to adapt, but surely a striker that scores that many goals in a team that creates this many chances is just going to be a success, isn't it?
When his price dropped at 11.5, I think a lot of people thought, wow, this is cheap. He's probably come in a little bit cheap. Let's all get him in. As we get closer towards deadline, I've seen a divergence and more people saying, well, he's the same price as Kane. Tottenham are more attacking with the signings that they've made. Maybe tried and trusted Premier League experience in Kane for the money is a better start than starting with Haaland. But I come back to what you just said there, the quality of chance, the players putting it on a sixpence for him in De Bruyne and even Cancelo and everybody else around him, Grealish, Bernardo. I think he's going to really tear it up. And he's got real explosiveness. And I feel like he could bang in 3 or 4 in a game and you'd just be like, well, that's just Haaland, isn't it?
Yeah. And I can understand the thoughts on people maybe thinking about going with Kane over him because of maybe the fitness doubts. Is he going to start the first game of the season? He obviously didn't play in the friendly against Club America. Played a half against Bayern Munich. I think the game to look for is the Community Shield. If he plays 60 minutes in that, then I think he should be good to go for West Ham. I don't see why he wouldn't start the majority of games. You don't sign Erling Haaland and then just start chopping and changing him. Maybe look after him if he's got some niggles that he wouldn't have got at Dortmund. But I don't see why he won't play the majority of minutes. People going without him is going to be hiding behind the sofa. We play Bournemouth at home game week 2.
Yeah, I think that this will become a discussion. And supposedly Haaland has sought reassurances from you that at times he will get a break and not play 65, 70 games if you go deep into cup competitions and whatnot. I'm sure he won't play in like the Carabao and the FA till like at least the semis or something like that. But I think in terms of him getting a rest, this is not a discussion till at the earliest game week 5. Game week 5, you obviously got Nottingham Forest and midweek fixture. And it's the sort of one, when it comes round and you look at it now and you go, oh crap, Haaland at home to Forest. When it comes round, it might be the one where he gets a rest. But for the first 4, 1 game a week with Pep saying, well, he's going to get his fitness through playing football matches. I mean, there's literally zero doubt in my mind that he would, as long as he doesn't pick up an injury, that he would start those first 4 games. Zero doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. Like I say, if he gets another 60 minutes, like I say, in the Community Shield, I don't have any doubts either. I think another thing people aren't discussing is that he's not going to the World Cup, so he's got a month's rest in the middle of the season. So you can see Pep maybe not running him into the ground in the first half of the season, but he might be thinking, okay, we can maybe play him a bit more than some of the players that are going, like De Bruyne. Give a month's rest, come back, and then maybe do the same in the second half of the season.
Yeah. I think just to kind of wrap up on the captaincy piece, and I know it's a bit bold, but the noise around West Ham is that Aged is out till the World Cup. He's going to be out for a little while at the moment. So he's gone. It's a Diop's on his way to Fulham, and Ogbonna hasn't played competitive football for like 10 months. You don't want a guy who's first competitive football.
Craig Dawson will love it.
And he's 32. Craig Dawson's not much younger. With just coming back from a real big injury to be up against Haaland, I'm thinking actually from having depth at centre-back, that's not what you want at the start. I'm talking myself into that armband actually, because I don't think we'll be
you like
strong.
Have one of the interesting things you have defensively, Suj, is compactness, and you also have different attributes in your defensive players in terms of physicality and pace. Normally someone's missing something. You've got through Zuma and whomever his partner is, the combination of both. To look at game week 1, in my opinion, and say that Haaland away to West Ham is better than the Tottenham boys or Mo at Fulham, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I'm Salahless, so it kind of removes that from the equation.
I think you're understating the ability of your own team, to be honest. If you want to captain Haaland game week 1, fine, but I don't think. Look, could he go to West Ham and get 3 or 4? Yeah, of course he could, but realistically, that's not the game.
58% ownership though, which is healthy. He's only just behind Jesus, isn't it? So most of the game on Haaland.
We should actually, Johnny, just get your opinion on Jesus actually, and how well.
Yeah, that was something that I thought you might ask about, was the lads that have left. Yeah, I've got Jesus.
And Zinchenko, you're just trying to get them all in, or?
Get the band back together.
I did have Zinchenko.
That's what Arteta's doing, isn't he? Getting the band back together just with red shirts on.
Yeah, I did have Zinchenko in draft some point yesterday. I'm shamelessly in full on tinker mode now at the moment. But no, yeah, Jesus, sad to see him leave. More from a sort of personal point of view, really liked him as a sort of a guy. I think he did himself, or did City, a favour. He wasn't having the best of seasons, but really showed some good form, as James knows, towards the end of the season. I think sort of if he increased his value, I don't think if he'd have showed his form in that last 2 months of the season, we'd have got 45 mil for him. I think we maybe would have been looking more like 30, but like I say, he did City a favour. But I think he only scored 8 goals in the Premier League. 4 of them came in one game. Again, sorry to mention it, James.
Johnny's referring to, I messaged Johnny and said, let him for a 1 week punt at the weekend, Jesus. Or the conversation was something, I'm not sure he'll start, or something like that. I don't even think you knew I was thinking for FPL. I think I might have even said to you, who do you think will start at the weekend? So I didn't kind of lace the answer for you. And you didn't have Jesus in the 3. I was like, well, fine, forget that. I was thinking about Jesus for a 1 week punt. I was on the train traveling to Brentford. Jesus. We was DMing each other during the game.
I remember saying to you at the time, this is the best game he's ever had for us, because he's never usually this clinical. He even got the assist for the other one as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, Jesus' career at City, it started off obviously electric. We thought, here's someone to really challenge Aguero, but he never really lived up to that hype. And sort of like I say, he has sort of dropped off in the last couple of seasons, been moved around a lot. I think he was starting to look for a move. I think if, like I said, if he hadn't had that form in the last couple of months, I think City fans would have been a lot more okay with it. Whether he's going to be this brilliant sort of number 9 focal point for Arsenal is yet to be seen. But I mean, I really hope he is. I really do wish him all the best. And it's going to be interesting to see if he does play the majority of games for Arsenal as the number 9, whether he will be able to get 15, 20 goals. I know he's got the ability, whether he can remains to be seen.
It's that price as well, though, isn't it? We're not just looking at it and going, he's 10 million. He's 10 million. We're having it's borderline, I think. It's the price.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, it is. He did come in at a really good price.
a really bad price, I think, because it's too cheap, as shown by his ownership in the game, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe.
What's your free City then, Johnny, with Haaland? Who's the other two?
At the moment, I've got Cancelo and Grealish.
Jack's
And
in. Talk to me, mate.
I'm sure, yeah, people have asked me to talk about Grealish.
Again, you and I have been building to this conversation for a year, I think.
Yeah, shamelessly in. They're full on tinker mode, and yeah, he's made it in this morning. I don't know whether he'll be in there, but yeah, he is consideration at the moment. Obviously the classic conversation me and you had last season was it was his first season in under Pep. Wasn't really getting the numbers, was playing okay, but we'll reserve judgment until next season. Now I will admit, towards the end of the season, I was thinking, well, he really does need to improve because he wasn't playing. But then just in the last couple of games, when he even like the 10-15 minutes he came on against Real Madrid, he nearly scored twice, was direct. Obviously led the comeback against West Ham in that second half. And you thought, okay, there might be something here. He's ended the season okay. But he's just looked really sharp in pre-season. Looks in good shape. Looks to be more direct. Picked up an assist for Haaland, maybe half an assist for KDB. I think that's the thing, is that he talked about at the end of the season about how he was playing conservative, how he was almost scared of losing the ball in Pep's system, but now he's being told to be more direct. And
it needs to be Jack Grealish, doesn't he? It's the bottom line.
Yeah, I think he has to be, and hopefully the numbers will come with that.
Well, I hope he does great. I mean, from an England perspective as well, because when he's at it and he's on fire, he feels unstoppable at times. I think, it's one you and I might have a psychological thing going on here where we've been conscious of it for a while. I think for a year we've been thinking probably starting with Jack Grealish next year, subject to price. Yeah. 7 million could be dynamite if he can come back towards the Villa form in your team.
Yeah,
he really could be good.
Yeah, it's a gamble. I think it's the fact that he is 7 mil as opposed to the 8 mil lads that tempts you. I think he will start the season. But again, like I say, it's a gamble whether that sort of pre-season form and maybe being a bit more direct translates into more numbers, more points. Remains to be seen. Obviously, Phil Foden's got to come in. He's got to play somewhere. So if he doesn't have the best start, could he be dropped for Foden? Like I say, it is a gamble, but I think it might be a good gamble to start with.
It's funny, I noticed that Bernardo, Foden, and is it Gundogan? And Mahrez all have more ownership than Jack Grealish for the start of the season. Perhaps that's kind of people just looking at points, previous season's points or what have you. But Foden, Mahrez a little bit more expensive. Bernardo's the same price. If Grealish does well at the start of the season, you can see a lot of people flocking towards him because of his price. And he's one of the players in that 7 million bracket that I feel has the capability of matching the 8 millions, Saka's, Kulusevski's, Diaz's. He's the one that lower price that could perform like them. If you think like Bowen at 6.5 last year was performing like an 8 million, 8.5 million asset. That's what Grealish can do. I'm going to wait and see. But the other thing is, like, I want to start the season with 3 City. So what do? Like, do you then go sideways? Do you go from De Bruyne to Grealish because Grealish is doing well to free up money and then spend it elsewhere, or what have you? I'm unlikely to go with only 2 City to give myself that flexibility. I want 3 players from the best team in the country. So there's a kind of decision that a lot of people are going to have to make: take the punt from the beginning, or have in the back of your mind that you're going to have to maneuver a way of getting to someone like Grealish if he starts really popping off.
Yeah. I think Cancelo and Haaland are the 2 nailed on ones, but I think there's reasons for and against every other player in the squad.
Yeah.
I think there's reasons to go with a third all over the pitch, but like I said, there's reasons for and against.
But that's part why at the moment I don't want to.
Yeah.
At the moment it's Cancelo and Haaland for me, and my thought process is there's every chance I'm going to land in game week 2 and have a problem, and the third City guy comes in there to fix the problem, or we leave it, we go with the 2. It's not compulsory. I could get a third in and might not start, right? Particularly a fixture like that. Yeah. But that's where I'm at in my thinking. You go with the third, you might be stuck. You go Cancelo, Grealish and Haaland as an example, and you suddenly, oh crap, I've got to get Mahrez or I've got to get Foden.
Yeah.
Something's got to shift. And what are you going to shift from the money? You look top end. No, I've got Cancelo top of defenders. I've got Haaland top of the forwards. Where's the money coming from to shift it? So I'd rather kind of leave it open at the moment, where it might even be, I go Diaz to Mahrez into Diaz to Foden. I'm not thinking these things in my mind, but that might be how I feel after game week 1. Or I've gone Perisic and suddenly he's not in the team, he's not fit. I go second defensive, for example. My thought process, it's never as clear with City because of the rotation as it is, say, with Liverpool. Yeah. With Liverpool, we can look at Trent and Robbo and Diaz and Salah and know 90% starting. It's just not that clear. The reason you want 3 Man City is not really for West Ham away. It's for Bournemouth at home in game week 2.
Yeah.
And you can have 3 and only have 1 start. And that's how it always is, right?
Yeah, I agree. And it's solid logic, and it has something that's entered my head as well. Starting from the back, people are considering Ederson in net, but then you really are stuck with the free City. Let's say if Grealish pops off or something, or Diaz nails down a place, and you've got to sort your keeper out. It's not a position you necessarily want to be in. The centre backs are up in the air at the moment. It was Ake and Diaz in the last friendly. Stones has been left behind on the tour. Is he going to start the Community Shield? Laporte's injured for the start of the season. So, like I say, the centre backs are really up in the air. If I had to take a punt, I reckon I wouldn't be surprised if Ake started the season, just because, like I say, Stones hasn't gone on tour. They've talked about managing Diaz's fitness, about his hamstring injuries at the end of the season. So you're playing a dangerous game there. The full-backs, Cancelo, I do think, still is the one. People talk about full-back rotation, but Cancelo just plays at such a high level. I think he will definitely start the season. Hopefully we get the Cucurella deal over the line. Now we've lost Zinchenko. How he then slots in, whether he plays on the left and Cancelo on the right, or whether Walker plays on the right.
Or he doesn't play much till year 2.
Or he doesn't play much until year 2. Again, that could be up in the air. I'd really like to give a definitive answer there, because Cucurella and Walker would be 5 mil. But you just don't know until he comes in and you see what Pep does. I suspect that the minutes between Cucurella and Walker will probably just be shared, and Cancelo will be the main man. And then you just talk about the rest of the midfielders. I say Mahrez, Grealish, Foden, they're all just susceptible to the usual rotation. So that there are sort of like I say, reasons for and against all over the pitch, really. So leaving that third spot open, I think, is a solid option, solid logic.
Foden's the one. I mean, we talk about Grealish having a breakout season. Foden's the one that I feel like I've always needed convincing on. But when I look at his stats, he's 130 to 140 points off, give or take, 2,000 and something minutes. So if you say Foden's going to get even close to 3,000 minutes, that's 170, 180 comfortably in terms of points that he would score. Sterling's not there now, and I'd say Foden's always the left of the attacking players, sometimes false nine, but he's likely to get more minutes. But do you think Foden Grealish will share the minutes there potentially?
This was being discussed on the City podcast I was listening to yesterday. Foden suffered a lot last season from being the sort of fall guy that had to play the false nine. And was being moved around a lot. I think his best position is left wing, but we just talked about how sharp Grealish looked and how Foden hasn't gone on tour with the team. So it looks like Grealish is going to start the season there. Obviously, with Haaland up front, that leaves the right-hand side option. I'm hoping that Foden doesn't suffer again from just being moved around too much. I would really like him to just get a run of games on that left wing. But then, like we say, where is Grealish going to play? So it's going to be interesting to see where Foden slots in. There's been talk of him maybe getting some more minutes on the right-hand side, especially now Sterling and Jesus have gone. That would make sense. But yeah, we're yet to see. I think Foden is a wait and see. But if he does get a run of games, Foden is, in terms of, you say, XG, expected goal involvement, he's right up there.
Say Foden, if we look at Foden, Grealish and Mahrez, Foden would be the best defensive of the three. That might sound like an odd question, but would that be fair in terms of his work off the ball, his hassling and stuff?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that probably narrative-wise fits into trying to protect Haaland a little bit as well. I only watched the start of the game with Bayern. It's really obvious you kind of front four without the ball, with kind of De Bruyne going right alongside Haaland and pushing with a 4 and leaving just Bernardo and Rodri in midfield. I don't know if that evolved differently during the game. But it has that feeling for me that Foden's energy could be really pivotal in being a part of that as well, I feel.
Yeah, but that's another thing that you referred to that I want to talk about, James, KDB being pushed up. Not sure he's necessarily being overlooked, because I think people would still prefer Salah, Haaland, Son, maybe to KDB. But towards the end of the season, he started to be pushed up more of a 4-2-3-1. If he plays number 10 behind Haaland, he could have an explosive season in terms of numbers.
He could be the highest point scorer in the game if he plays that every week.
If Haaland's running in behind and defenders are dropping off, it just gives him more room in the number 10.
In and around the edge of the box, he's just lethal. Left foot, right foot, doesn't make a difference. He's lethal.
Yeah.
So, I was looking at his historical points, and I was looking at him versus Son versus Salah. If he, like James said, exactly that, any one of those three has the potential to be the top point scorer in the game. KDB, I mean, 15 goals, 8 assists.
By the way, Haaland might get 47 goals.
Yeah, Haaland's just the unknown, isn't it? But 8 assists, 15 goals in like 2,100 minutes for KDB last year is ridiculous. Nearly 200 points. I felt like he only played half a season. He did only play half the season.
And this is where
it's it, isn't it?
This is where it's exciting, because he was absolutely battered after the Euros last year. Re-aggravated his ankle injury, and then he started the season injured. He famously amongst City fans said how knackered he was after that away game at Liverpool, and he really looked off it, but then started to come into his own. And I put some money on him winning player of the season after he scored that winner against Chelsea, because I thought if he leads us to the title now, he could easily win PFA Player of the Year. I think if the voting had stayed open until after that Wolves game, he might have.
Heung-min Son would have won it.
Maybe what he didn't get the team, did he?
Listen, we got to win something, Johnny. You can't have everything, mate.
But yeah, he ended the season really well, and then, like I say, he's had the summer off. He's come back, looked sharp in pre-season. So if he's playing this sort of hybrid 8/10 behind Haaland, he could get silly numbers again.
He had a right whinge about going to play for Belgium, though, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, rightly so.
Yeah, I was not happy about them, and most players weren't. That's why we shouldn't take any notice of them, the Nations League games. No one wanted them.
He's very dry, KDB. He won't hold back in what he says.
No, I mean 23 attacking returns from 2,200 minutes. I mean, we can all basically do the maths on that. Tells us that we know what we get with KDB. I think there have been periods where there've been doubts about it because of a deeper role and stuff. But everything I see, just watching the start of that game against Bayern the other day, he does look like he's going to play as a 10. And actually, when City win the ball in high turnover positions, he's basically going to be the striker's position.
You just know everyone can see when KDB gets the ball in the transitions, and he just plays that through ball that almost like goes through the defender's legs when they're on the half turn. You can just picture him just setting Haaland away in City's transitions. I think that'll be a real asset to our game this season. City usually hopeless at counter attacking, but the outball from KDB to Haaland is surely another string to the bow.
Do you think you'll go more direct
you
this
have
year?
the ball for like 80%, Johnny. It's hard to counter-attack when you just have the ball all the time.
Yeah.
You have to sit in deep.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Do you think you'll go more direct this year?
Maybe not necessarily more direct.
We're not saying long
Quicker.
ball, but I mean just moving the ball through the lines quicker.
Transitions, yes. I think like this is the first time. I know Aguero was fast, but he slowed down sort of in the Pep years. This is the first time we've had a real lightning striker. I think it will just mean Pep will think about it in terms of the usual Pep style. If you can get Haaland turning, running in behind, and KDB on the ball, teams will just drop off naturally. They won't want to play high against that. So again, they'll just drop off. City will control more of the game.
See, this is why I'm thinking about too as well. I mean, we've spoken about Son to De Bruyne. I'm probably going to start with Sonny, right? Son to De Bruyne in 2 if I feel like it. That's why I don't want to go like Son and Kane, and then think I know a few are looking at. I don't think it's worth it to go Son and Kane and then take the -4 for De Bruyne and Haaland in 2. You need the Tottenham boys to really outscore the City boys hard, and there's no guarantee of that. So I feel like splitting it with 1 each, in my opinion, feels like the right way to go. And if I want to go KDB in 2, I don't think I'd hesitate, because I love him. We did, when we first started the pod, Suj, he was like a comfort blanket for us. We couldn't do without him. And then, to be honest, that changed over time.
Yeah, injuries didn't help, particularly, and it's always been the availability of other players, right? It's like, and Salah was always popping off. So Salah became the comfort blanket where KDB wasn't. But I just look back at it as the one thing that will convince you to put KDB in your FPL team is look back at his historicals. He had that season in 18-19 where he only played like less than a game, like 59 minutes. But other than that, 199, 209, 251, 196 last year. It's as strong as.
I think
Sonny.
it's worth clarifying from that historical comfort blanket that he was more at a price bracket of 10 million. Rather than 12. And that's what's changed in the last couple of years, where they've put him, and rightly so, they've put him at the top level. I must say that I was surprised he came in more than Haaland, personally.
Yeah, I was as well. And I think his price is the main reason why people are being off-put and are looking at Kane and Haaland cheaper, and Salah and Son, who are just more goal scorers. I can understand why people are overlooking him. I don't think I'll start with him.
I think it's brackets though, James, because like strikers, there's one other premium in Kane at 11.5. So Haaland, you're going to price him more than Kane, whereas in the midfield you've got more options in Salah and Son, and then if you want to drop down to Bruno and Sterling, it's like the price of the other players around.
Oh, I'm not saying that De Bruyne should be at Bruno's level. No, I'm saying he should be.
He should be at Salah and Son.
Exactly what Jonny said. Salah and Sonny could have games where they do nothing and walk away with 2 goals. KDB could be the best player on the pitch 3 games in a row and have nothing. And that's the difference between the players from a fantasy perspective, essentially. It's an extreme example I'm giving, but you know what I'm saying.
I've talked about it before as well, is if you're paying 12 mil, you want a captain option, and you just don't know which game KDB is going to pop off, do you?
Well, it looks like home games, mate.
4 goals away at Wolves.
All of them. Oh, Bournemouth, Palace, Forest, first 3 at home. I looks at Tottenham as the 4th. I mean, they're decent home fixtures, mate.
They are, yeah. But like I say, he could be the best player on the pitch. Running the show in them home games, and Haaland's the one that's bagging 3 and 4.
I also wonder in some of these games, we haven't spoken about Calvin Phillips yet and what role he may play, but it is beginning to look more like a partner for Rodri, which is part why I think they bought him. Certainly in that Bayern game, Bernardo played deeper and he did a lot more in games last year. We've spoken about the idea of how do we fit Foden, Grealish and Mahrez all in the team. Well, could it be that the answer is to put KDB against some of the weaker oppositions next to Rodri? And then that kills him, doesn't it? From a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think, I can't see that as much as Bernardo or Phillips playing alongside Rodri. But yeah, it's a possibility. You know, Pep's like.
How we'll keep it brief because they only want to hear about the fantasy assets. But how big do you think Phillips' involvement will be?
Not huge, but decent. I think he's a good signing. I think he's a very good replacement for Fernandinho. Offers that sort of bite and aggression that we'll miss with Fernandinho. He'll be able to give Rodri a rest because Rodri was sort of running to the ground last season. I think if he'd have got injured at any point, that would have been a real problem. But also, yeah, I think he will play alongside Rodri at times. I think one game where I think it was really noticeable, where we lacked a bit of like mobility or aggression in midfield, was Atletico Madrid away, when we were having to bring on Gundogan and Bernardo to dog in the midfield. I think Phillips was
grim, the end of that game.
Yeah, if we could have had peak Fernandinho back in there, like you say, I was just thinking that they're the types of games that you'll have Phillips in. But yeah, Rodri is the number 1, so he won't be playing the majority of games, but I think he'll still get a decent amount of minutes.
Would we also say the likes of Foden and Stones and Gundogan are behind the others because they've not gone to America?
Yeah, I think so. They've been on tour with the under 23s, I think, the EDS they call them, in Croatia, but they've been playing against kids. I reckon one of them might get a start at the weekend. You might see Stones come back in, but I wouldn't be surprised if
I reckon Foden loved being out in Croatia with the kids. What do you reckon, Suj? Taking the YTS boys out in the pool in Croatia.
No comment. No comment.
Yeah, I think it leans into thinking that Grealish and Mahrez might start the season. KDB 10, Bernardo with Rodri, who's had a super 18 months or so. And I think you're probably looking at Aki might start. He's getting better, isn't he, Johnny? Definitely.
Yeah, and I think a lot of City fans were really worried when he was being linked with Chelsea. It really looked like he was off at one point, and it would have been a shame because he's the perfect sort of fourth choice centre back for us. Obviously, I think my opinion is we've got 3 world-class centre backs there, and Ben Aki is sort of the perfect backup that is left-footed, can play left back, mobile, good on the ball. Yeah, you would have really struggled to find a replacement that would have been happy to play the role that Ake does, that's as good as him.
Kyle Walker feels to me like this year's Luke Shaw, just with 50% less ownership. I keep hearing people mention him. He's never got more than 150 points in FPL, which feels remarkable because he has had years where he's played nearly every game. Any consideration?
Not really. Unless, like I say, the Cucurella deal doesn't happen and he looks sort of nailed again. But yeah, he's just never really been that good at attacking, crossing. At City, he's classically always tucked in more than he's overlapped. He's usually nowhere near the bonus points. It can be a consistent source of clean sheets, but like I say, if he's going to be part of that sort of fullback rotation this year, I don't think he's worth.
He's a really rare case where, admittedly, he's cheaper, but actually, we would say pay for the centre backs because they'll like Laporte and Diaz and stuff will get goals on set pieces and that. Kyle Walker won't. He won't be involved in that in any way. The Pep's too worried about him dealing with a counter attack and stuff.
Yeah, I think you'd pay a little bit more for the centre backs.
What do you think in terms of the kind of 5 subs situation? Because Pep notoriously sometimes is a no sub kind of guy. It feels like Kyle Walker's again that bracket of if you're going to be making changes, maybe he's with his age and not that if he comes across as he's not fit anymore, but he's one that you think if you're chasing a game or want to shore up a game, maybe he comes off.
Yeah, I think.
Do you see Pep kind of using 5 subs or? Nah.
I mean, no, it depends on the score, I think. Because I think
true.
Probably more the point. Just add on, I'd say, look, Aki, if Cucurella doesn't happen, Aki can cover at left back once all the centre backs are available, and Stones can cover at right back. So, but numbers wise, and we had this conversation last year. There's little bits that make me nervous if suddenly you come into big injury problems, where these kids are going to play, and they are brilliant, like the likes of Cole Palmer and James McAtee and stuff. They are brilliant. But the squad looks light, actually, in comparison to Liverpool all of a sudden, I feel.
It did end up like that at the end of last season, where we sold Torres, Aguero had gone, obviously the whole Mendy shit show happened, and we really did look light. And I remember arguing with a lot of people who were saying that City's squad's stronger than Liverpool. It's like, it's not anymore. And that's why I think these signings, hopefully, like I say, we get Cucurella over the line, keep Ake, sign Phillips, obviously sign Haaland and Alvarez. I think the squad is looking stronger, again, from a depth perspective this season.
We haven't spoken about Julian Alvarez. Can also play wide as well as up front, is my understanding. You played second half against Bayern, didn't he?
Yep, and he started the game against Club America. I think.
What's your thinking so far, just generally?
Yeah, he looks exciting. I mean, I haven't watched both games in full. I've just watched the highlights, but from what I've heard in the podcast, the highlights that I've seen, he looks really exciting. Mobile, fast, good on the ball, really good finisher. That was a lot of criticism Jesus used to get, was that he didn't shoot enough. Alvarez looks like he's going to be popping them off from all over the show. So yeah, he's just really exciting. I think the fact that he has come across from South America, will be new to the league, is a little bit younger. Probably means that he will be an obvious second fiddle to Haaland at first. But I think there was talk of him maybe being a bit more suited to City because he is similar to Aguero, and obviously we know how well Aguero fitted in Guardiola's system. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets his fair share of minutes as well.
There's going to be a point this season where it's going to be everyone's got to buy him. I can at that price, 6.5 million. Yeah. I can picture that double game week rolls around and Haaland's picked up a knock or something. And
yeah,
it's just bang, everybody steam into him. Liam Delap is just an interesting one because Southampton have bid. You don't want to sell, but he's not going to play that much. Are we looking at a championship loan? Because there's a lot of people holding up 4.5 million hopes here, I think. He's another really good talent.
I was tweeting about it, hoping / thinking it might happen. What City have done a lot this summer with the likes of Lavia and Bazunu going to Southampton is they've sort of sold with the option to buy back. I suspect that's what they might try and do with Delap. And then if that move doesn't happen, yeah, there might be a loan onto the Championship. There was rumours at one point of a loan to Brighton. I'm not sure whether that might still be alive, maybe as part of the Cucurella deal, but yeah, it looks most likely that it'll be going to Southampton, hopefully with a buyback.
I think they have to seriously up their offer, is my understanding.
They offered 16. I think it's going to have to at least be 25, something like that.
Yeah, Matt was saying he doesn't think they'll do it, and they've got this forward in from Bordeaux in now, as well as another young forward. I can see him going to Burnley, mate.
Yeah, with Vinny there. He's already signed 3 City players. I wouldn't be surprised.
They've lost Wood, Weghorst, so they need it as well. There's probably a connection between the clubs, and then it's just a loan, I think.
Yeah,
and it probably suits everybody. I have seen the odd draft with Cole Palmer in, Johnny. Is that silly? He's 4.5.
It's not. Oh, silly's harsh, but it goes back to the point before about third City spot. I think he will get his fair share of minutes, probably like Foden did in maybe the 1920 season, maybe the 2021 season. He does look really good. He's very similar in style to Mahrez, so I think City are probably lining him up to be Mahrez's long-term replacement. Obviously, with Sterling going, there's going to be minutes available on the right-hand side. Whether he gets an extended run in the team during the season, I don't know. But I probably wouldn't be starting with him just because he's 4.5, especially when there's other 4.5 midfield options like Pereira, De Silva that we know are going to get minutes from the start. So,
I mean, just to give you an example, I mean, imagine you have that. You've got Cole Palmer in now, and Edison gets injured for 3 months, and you want to get Ortega, and he's 4.0. Yeah. And I basically a lot of, I think certainly Ortega, Kelleher, Forster at us, not Turner at Arsenal, but there's a number of goalkeepers from the better teams, shall we say, who are 4.0, where if they get a run in the team, it's just go and get them, I think.
Yeah.
Liverpool, again, feels different in terms of comfortable going with 3 because it's clearer about selection and stuff. But these little things do make me wonder if it's just better to go with Cancelo, go with a big boy you want up front, and until there's clarity, leave it be. It's kind of my strategy idea with it at the moment. Whichever one I get will be the one that misses anyway. Oh God, Mahrez, Foden gets hat-trick. So it'll be.
Always away.
That's the world of City ownership, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wilson as Brand played left back against Bayern. Again, the same thing. Is there any chance he starts at West Ham?
I don't think so. He looks a real promising prospect. He's solid on the ball, gets up and down well. I think he played last season in the Carabao Cup. Pep speaks highly of him, saying that he wants to keep him. There's no talk of him being loaned or sold as backup. Maybe, like I say again, if the Cucurella deal doesn't happen, he could come in for a real run at some point. But even if we do sign Cucurella, Pep might be thinking Cucurella, Walker, Cancelo, Wilson, Esbrand as the 4 centre backs. So he might become an option at some point at 4 mil. But again, I probably wouldn't be starting the season with him.
No. you're
Especially
right.
thinking that obviously one of our strong points is Jared Bowen, so you don't want to really start first day of the season, throw him into that is probably not wise.
What
Yeah.
price do you think Neymar will be?
No, Neymar's not going to happen.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think so. Pep's already rubbished it, hasn't it? There was shouts at some point. There was paper talk. There was a guy on one of the City forums that claimed he'd heard something, but yeah, I don't know. There's just so much baggage with him. Do you even want him?
I mean, I look at it, the way we discuss it, you look at it, you think, you lucky bastard sitting there debating about, should I play Foden or Grealish on the left? Oh, let's just buy Neymar as well to compete with that, or play 10 instead of KDB. I mean, no, but this Bernardo Barca thing's not going away, is it? And it might just land where you've got a lot of money you didn't expect to have. That's all I'm saying. And that wouldn't feel like the right way to spend it, but neither did going for Ronaldo last year, and we know that it was going to happen.
Yeah, never say never. I'd be really disappointed if City sold Bernardo to Barcelona.
He wants to go, doesn't he? It's not a disrespect to you, but he wants to play there. It sounds like.
I think he's been wanting to leave for maybe a year or so, but Bernardo's such a professional. I think he does love City, the fans as well. He's happy to stay, and like I say, look at last season, he nearly won Player of the Season. He probably hasn't done himself any favours in his bid to leave by putting his value up. There was talks last season, wasn't there, of him going for like 40 mil or something. Ridiculous thinking that now. But yeah, if City allowed it, if you're going to sell Bernardo, you just say to Barcelona, listen, let's sell him at the start of the window, try and sort something out. You can't be selling him.
But they're not operating like any other football.
Normal.
I mean, we criticise some of the things going on at your football club, which is fair a lot of the times, but they're not operating like how anybody's ever operated before.
And that's why
the things that they're doing.
That's why I don't think City should listen to it. Like I say, if Barcelona come in with an 80 mil bid with 2 weeks to go, I'd just be like, we can't sell him at this point.
You might never see the money, mate.
Can't replace him. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be doing the deal personally, but yeah.
No.
Definitely not an FPL asset, Bernardo. He looks like he's going to play deeper, right?
Yeah, he obviously had that stint last season, which was funny. But yeah, I don't think so.
No, it wasn't. We thought it was the second coming of Gundogan, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I fell for it. I remember that Leeds midweek fixture. I wanted Foden all week, and I bottled it and went Bernardo, thinking that he is scoring a lot. To be fair,
same.
And he missed a sitter in the first minute of that game.
Yeah,
he scored. He never didn't score again for like the rest.
Yeah, 7-0. It wasn't the only time last year I backed someone in the 7-0 game and they didn't return. Good afternoon, Kai Havertz. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it off, Johnny. This is always the same caveat, right? From week to week, guess away in terms of the team. I do slightly feel it's getting a bit easier though.
Yes,
because the numbers are. It's getting a little bit easier.
Luke on Twitter,
he's amazing, isn't he?
He's a lot better than me. I'm probably more biased in that my predictions are more of what I want to see, and I just always want to see the strongest team. He's able to sort of look at the minutes that have played, stuff that Pep's done in recent games. Yeah, Luke's brilliant at predicting the team, and I do agree with that. I think it is getting slightly easier.
He's not a Man City fan, mate, so your job's safe anyway, mate. Don't worry about it. Just Liverpool as competitors this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Wanker.
Yeah, I think so. I think
it's fair.
Chelsea.
No, it is fair. I agree.
Chelsea look. I would say Chelsea, but they look a bit all over the place at the moment.
I can't see them staying happy for 38 games is how it feels at the moment.
They need to sort their shit out. I mean, that's going back to we haven't talked about Sterling. Sterling's gone to Chelsea. Sterling's gone to Chelsea, being told that he's going to be the main man. Obviously, compete for trophies, compete in Europe. But if they had a bad start to the season and Tuchel ends up falling out with a new owner and ends up getting sacked, there's no guarantee the new manager will even fancy Sterling. He could just end up in the same situation as at City, part of a rotation of attackers. I do think Sterling to Chelsea is a little bit of a strange one on his part, but
where could he go? In fairness, if he wanted to go, I mean, there's only so many places you could go.
I don't know, but I think it obviously just showed how desperate he was to leave. I think
if I was him, I'd be offended that Barcelona didn't show interest.
If I was Sterling, I'd have just. I thought he would have just run down his contract for a year, and then he really would have had pick of the bunch last year. But it was only really Chelsea that were willing to pay the money this year. Yeah, Sterling showed his best form at City on the right wing, playing with Jesus or Aguero up front.
Sane on the other side.
That was the time.
That was obviously when we were scoring 100 points, 106 goals. Sterling right, Sane left, Aguero or Jesus up front. We could have gone back to Foden or Grealish on the left, Haaland or Alvarez up front, and Sterling on the right.
KDB in the middle.
I think he could have had a brilliant season if he just stayed at City one more year. Then he might have thought, okay, I'll sign a new contract. If it doesn't work out, you're free to go where you want. Like I said, I think it's a strange one that he's just gambled on a move to Chelsea early.
Interesting.
But, going back to that, I don't think Chelsea look like we're going to do anything at the moment. Tottenham, I'm sure. Obviously, James
we'll beat you twice, but finish 20 points behind you, right?
Yeah. Well, you guys look like you had a good summer. Conte looks good. I think the shouts that you might finish third are okay.
Gap's too big, though, isn't it?
Yeah, the City and Liverpool is just on such.
It's not us or Arsenal or Chelsea trying to catch you. It's trying to catch both of you. Yeah. And we have seen that, like in the COVID year, you had a dip, but to expect you both to,
very difficult.
We've spoken about this, like you did COTC with Dan when you play each other in April. Like you both make each other better. The standards are so high. It's almost like if you go 6 points behind after 5 games, you start getting into panic mode already. Like can't get to 8, 9, 10 and stuff like that. It's over.
Yeah. That's why I want to start with 6, about 3 from each, because I think both the managers know that you can't. It's not like you can start steady and then catch up if there's a small deficit. You need to hit the ground running, because if you don't, the others could open up a gap that's going to be a bit of hard work to close. And that's why I think you've both got decent runs at the start. I think yours is better than Liverpool's, but they're decent enough that by the time you get to kind of game week 10, you're both going to want like 25, 27 points on the board, I reckon. And that's what I think we're going to see, which is why I just want to get 6 of them, 3 of each, job done.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting to see, because obviously the last 2 seasons, City have won the title in December and over winter, basically. With the World Cup there, obviously you know that won't happen. Pep usually likes his team to sort of peak around that time. So are we going to go full throttle start of the season? It's going to be interesting to see.
There's a real interesting period to keep an eye on. Again, it kind of falls into wildcard ideas. But between 7 and 12, you play 4 of last year's top 6 in 6 fixtures. Yep. Feels like it's going to be a real pivotal period. And I feel like you had similar kind of last year, Chelsea away, Liverpool away. There was a few, and you came out of it really well.
Yeah, we played Chelsea away, PSG away, and Liverpool away in the same week. Granted, we got beat at PSG, but we got good results at Liverpool and Chelsea.
A redundant question that James asks, correspondent, redundant for you, is like, where do you think you'll finish? Because I think you're pretty much going to want to back yourself to be top, aren't you?
Yeah. I think we'll finish first.
I agree with you as well. James, go on, do the honours. What did the rest of them say?
The majority, about 80% of the guys think City will, 85% think City will win it. There's one idiot who thinks Chelsea, and I'll speak to him later in the week. The others have gone for Liverpool. The only caveat I'd say is, and we did part mention it, if City have a run of injuries that's bad, I think it's there on the table for Liverpool, in the sense that they learned a lot from their own year where they really suffered. And I do think their squad is now better than City's. I think the 2 of them will probably smash the 90-point barrier again, and it'll be close. But yeah, I'd City for me as well.
Jonny, thank you so much for joining us for Correspondent Week, and trying to provide as much clarity as you can on who does and doesn't start for City. Do you want to just tell the listeners where they can find you on your Twitter if they want to try and follow your Man City musings?
Yeah, it's at FPL Pringle. And I'm coming for the Correspondent League again next year, Andy. Watch your back.
Nice.
He knows, I told him. Thanks, Jonny. Good luck for the season, my friend.
Fantastic.
Yeah, guys.
James, back down the M6 to the Midlands, are we going?
Yeah, Wolves for probably a 45-minute podcast on Pedro Neto, I think.
Oh,
But no,
fair
on
play.
seriousness, change of system. We might be looking at a different Wolves. They've got a brilliant set of first 6 fixtures. So, yeah, Bradley Park and Wolves is next.
I thought you were going to say 45 minutes of therapy for Bradley there because of his frustrations with Wolves transfer
I'll tell you
business,
what,
but it might be that too.
If they lose to Leeds and Fulham in the first 2, I'll be there for him. Don't worry. We'll talk about it.
Fantastic. Looking forward to speaking to Bradley about Wolves. So make sure wherever you listen to the podcast, you're subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and you'll be alerted as soon as that goes live. And thank you for all your support. Stay safe. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers. Thanks again, Johnny. Cue music, please, man. Show.